Hey, what's up guys? So we're here to check out the top decks as well as kind of go over what people are actually running and what are the good competitive cards. Now this is OCG just as a heads up, but a lot of the times it's very similar. In fact, you can look at this and look ahead of the game. But anyways, this was just actually released. But anyways, this is from the Hatti Championship. Had 112 players. But anyways, we'll go ahead and check out some of these decks. I will kind of go over some of the decks. If you guys want the deck profile, obviously you can pause the video at any point. But just kind of checking out maybe the more interesting stuff in the game. I mean, this just looks like kind of like a standard Trickstar deck over here. Nothing too different except for the card Manhunt, which is actually interesting. So you activate this card by targeting a face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of that ball while you control that monster. It can't attack or activate its effects. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. Now this is actually pretty interesting. It's a card that I have not seen anyone in the TCG even use. It obviously, I don't know where it comes out in the Dark Neostorm in the OCG. But even like online TCG, people play TCG/OG. I've not seen anyone play this card at all. At the end of the day, it's basically acts as a way for you to take control of your opponent's monster, not only blocking attacks, but basically can negate effects in a sense, because if your opponent summons something you don't want to deal with it, you just take control of it, and then that way they can't activate the effect, and then you have the monster, which is kind of nice. But then also when that monster leaves the field, you destroy this card. So it has a little bit more utility than Mind Control, obviously being a little bit slower, but you can go ahead and link up. And it does get rid of anything that would be considered something problematic. The biggest change with the OCG, however, is specifically Max C compared to the TCG. But obviously we have Ash at 1 extra. But anyways, there's nothing, again, too crazy except for that. I would say that's like the main thing that I think was kind of interesting with the variant of the Trickstar deck. But moving on to check out the Altergeists over here. This is pretty standard, nothing too extreme, except for I've seen a lot more people in the OCG run, of course, DD Crow. That is due to, well, and there's too many cards that activate in the grave, search a card, special summon card, get another link, whatever the case may be. Excellent card, and I think it'll get more popular as time goes on in the TCG. There are already some players running it, but in permanent, it's super popular. I mean, there's so many decks that are playing that. But anyway, Sky Striker, I'm sure everyone has seen this, but look at this. We got maxed out on Effect Baither, DD Crows, Max C, Ash Blossom. Like, look how many hand traps are in the game right now, which is absolutely crazy. And then pretty much I would consider most of it pretty standard. But there is a max out of this card. There can only be one, which makes so each player can control only one monster of each type. If a player controls 2 or more monsters of the same type, they must send to the graveyard so they control one. It's kind of like that Rivalry Warlord goes in. It's kind of similar to that, but a little bit different in that sense. Then also Salamangreats, pretty much like the same builds that we're seeing in the TCG for the most part. Again, Maxi is the big difference here. But we have Orcust. This is also a very popular deck. There's a lot of crazy Orcust turn 1 boards that are just, I automatically win. But look at that. We got that instant fusion maxed out. But moving on, there's another Salamangreat deck, but you can kind of use that one as a reference here. Already went over Altergeist and the other deck over there, which was the Salamangreat. And then Magicians over here. With, of course, the Pendulum. This is the only Pendulum deck. I think after the new Spellcaster one, the Endymion deck that we get in the TCG, I think there's a lot more potential for Pendulums to actually do very well, considering that deck has a lot of consistency, plus it has easy negates. Obviously, when you are going on your opponent's turn, you can negate, you know, anything that would stop you from going off with your plays. But the main point of this video is to kind of go over what exactly people are running. Again, Maxi is the main difference. Everyone's main decking max copies in every single deck. Everyone's main decking max copies of the Ash Blossom. And then, obviously, Harpy's Feather Duster. Everyone's playing that. But that is another card that is the difference in the TCG compared to the OCG. DD Crow, again, look at that. 87% of the top 8 decks were playing it. That's huge. And then also the Fantastical Dragon Phantasme over here, which is the card where it basically lets you cycle through some cards if you're playing against a very link-heavy deck. Salmon Greats. There's tons. In fact, even Trickstars, especially with, of course, the card that I just showed you guys where you basically take your opponent's monster. That's another way you can maybe utilize this card. The Dino Wrestler over here, obviously a very, very good card because, well, it is able to potentially pop any problematic card, and it's another free card that you can kind of utilize for your links. Phoenix is just more extra deck stuff. Imperial Order, still very popular, evenly matched, still very popular. Look at 75% of the top 8 decks. And then Solemn Baylor, still very popular as well. Interesting to see, we still see Twin Twisters at about half of the decks. And then we have the Anima over here, the Relinquish card. It's basically when you go into something, it's just easy access to another zone. And then on top of that, having that effect, not too bad. And there's not really anything that I found too extreme as far as like in the side deck over here, because some of these cards will count obviously as a side deck, but we got Linkaribo over here, Cosmic Cyclone. I think this card has just gotten less popular, just because the utility of course, Twin Twisters being able to get rid of a card that you potentially don't really need. Look at that, Pot of Duality, 2019. Well, it's obviously like Altergeist make pretty good use of it. We also have the Desires. Dude, look at that. MST still seeing some play. Classic card. I just don't really see too much use of that card. I think it's just outclassed by a majority of things in the game. There's also this card, again, which I thought was a very interesting choice. It's just in one of the decks, but again, it was pretty viable. And then we also have the Shadal Fusion, more of a tech card. Has easy access to, of course, just beating your opponent sometimes turn 1. Forcing out one of those negates can be quite good. Look at that Upstart. It's only in 1 out of the 8 top decks. I know in TCG pretty much everyone is running that card in most decks. It just makes it easier if you have an extra slot. But there's so many great cards in the game right now. Now we're pretty much looking at one of, so it's basically just, of course, one deck that's running it when it's only one copy of it. But there's really nothing, again, I felt like it was too extreme over here. But looking at this, guys, what do you think of the OCG as far as them running? These are the most popular cards in the competitive deck from the most recent tournament. Do you guys think it's very similar to the TCG? I'm just surprised that they're just maxing out on Crow for the most part. Really, really good. And it's side decked like half the time. And I like this, that they've added this. Is also, again, something new that I've seen from the organization. Great Yu-Gi-Oh coverage over here. But if you guys want to check out the full deck list, I will also link that down below. But these are currently the most popular cards and recent tournament reports of a top 8 section. I'd say it's pretty close, but let me know if you guys felt like there's anything missed out on here. I know in the TCG, dinosaurs are still relatively strong. They have a lot of potential for negates. In fact, almost every deck in the TCG is all about let's go ahead and negate as many times as possible. Still, Prank Kids are still pretty good too. That's another deck that wasn't really showcased off here. But nonetheless, I would say a lot of these decks easily could be competitive decks in the TCG as well. Again, the only difference is really just the Max C. But anyways, like I said, let me know your thoughts down below. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button if you would like to see more Yu-Gi-Oh news and coverage. But thanks for watching. Peace.